come to this day in love and in light and in truth. This is acceptable to you.
Yes.
We asked our daughter to do this communication for a broader audience. As we are aware that in these groups that we do, there is different information to what we are placing on these platforms. And we are also aware that on these platforms, there is censorship that is not just censoring by words, but also by energy. So they're not just censoring that goes against their narrative, let's say, but they are also censoring those that go against their frequency. And we've spoken about this before. There is AI within these platforms that picks up on frequency. It puts out a signal to another AI that then goes about blocking that individual or sending that individual some sort of frequency attack. So it's not just to not allow their platform to be viewed by others, so it's almost invisible, it's not shown anywhere, but it's also to energetically or frequency attack the person who is running it also. So there are a number of different things that go on. Regardless of that, we requested to do this because we wanted to speak about a few things more briefly than we do in the groups. And sometimes in these groups we cannot cover everything because they go for so long, with the questions and things. We cannot cover everything. And we asked respectfully our daughter to do more of these groups, so that we mean more often, so that people are informed, to keep them safe, to keep them secure, and to keep them focused. Because your biggest weapon at the moment is your clarity, your focus, and your heart. If you're in the heart space, this is what they're using to attack you also. So you're in your heart space, and then you are, let's say, diverted, distracted to something that's not nice. This affects your heart space, and immediately you want to defend that person, protect that person. Immediately other emotions will come to you that are unpleasant. So what's happening is you're being taken out of the heart space. And when you're taken out of the heart space, you are more easily manipulated to go down in your frequency, not up. They don't want you to go up in your frequency. They want you to go down, because when you're in the heart space and above, you are in the space of manifestation, as you call it, creation, as we call it. And we've spoken about this many times. The difference between creating in third, fourth to fifth. And it all has to do with the heart. So in order to take you away from creating the reality that you collectively desire, they will place within your heart space some trauma, some show, some video, some news that is a distraction, but it's a distraction of what? Your attention and your heart space. So that's what they are doing. And they do it to our daughter a lot. It's not easy to put so much energy into giving out clear information, to have it not heard to as many as possible. That can be very frustrating, because the intention is to support, to uplift. But when you are being blocked all the time, it's not easy to continue going. And many of you understand this. It's not easy to continue focusing on something when, whilst you're focusing on it, every possible distraction and block and hindrance is coming your way to get over, so that you must stay focused on what it is that you believe to be your truth, where you are meant to go, your mission, And so we ask our daughter to now do this more often, to, regardless of who hears it, who has access to it, because we want her to remain focused. For instance, if you remain clear and focused, even if you are being restricted by the 5 governing energies that we've spoken about many times, these 5 governing principles upon the planet that are blocking so many of you, even if, let's say, they are blocking you, the fact is they're not really blocking what you're creating, because you staying focused and clear and anchoring what you know to be true gives what you're anchoring a space, a place to multiply on the planet, regardless of whether that multiplication is in front of you or it is in another country. There is, when you're talking about 5D, or 4th density is 5th dimension. So let's just clarify that. So when we say 4D, we're talking about the dimension, not the density. 5D, we're talking about 4th density, meaning physical reality, not dimensional reality. There's a difference. So when you are in 5D and you're anchoring that into 4th density, you're anchoring that onto the planet, there is no time-space reality in the sense that you understand it. So therefore, there is no distance between you and the other person who may be a vibrational match to you. So therefore, what you're doing is you are independently yet collectively creating a grid. A grid of information, a grid of reality, a grid of light, love, and truth. So what we're encouraging you to do is not lose faith. Don't give up, regardless of how many people you perceive you're affecting, because there will be more than you can perceive that you are affecting, right? So we ask you to remain focused, to continue. Do not lose hope. Do not lose faith in your guidance, in your truth. Continue to focus on it every day. Strengthen that vision. The more that you strengthen that, we tell you, probably the more you're going to get attacked, but equally, the more you're going to build that reality or weave that reality into existence. Now, remember, we said that quite some years ago, we talked about the difference between a light worker and a light weaver. And we would assume that many of you have released the contract of being a light worker, meaning front lines, in the ditch, fighting everything. No, light weavers create or weave reality. It's like weaving a basket. They are the generals operating the system. So you're weaving realities at this moment into the fabric of the physical density. That's what you're doing. And that can have its, we could say, in some cases, difficulties, because you are being bombarded by so much that's telling you, go into what we spoke about in the last group, the metaverse. Go into that false reality and stay there. Don't go into the real reality. So be aware that whilst you are feeling at times like you're in mud it's slow to happen. We tell you that very soon, would say by the end of the year, many of you will be moving forward far more quickly than you could ever imagine. And in fact, this is the month of August, and you know, always in the month of August, there's a lot that goes on energetically, therefore a lot's going to go on physically this August. Because of what you call the Lion's Gate, it's a mathematical configuration that happens within the universe that opens a doorway or a gateway for you to receive certain frequencies. So what do those five governing principles do? They try to block you from receiving it so that you cannot anchor it. So they create distractions. What we're asking you to do is not to get distracted, to remain focused, even if the distraction is in your own home. So, for instance, a member of your family becomes ill, or, you know, you are without electricity, or without water, or, you know, you lose a job. Many things can happen within your atmosphere to distract you. And we are saying, even amongst that, please give yourself 5 minutes a day. It's not long. 5 minutes a day to remain focused on what you feel is your mission, what you believe is your mission, your input into this world. So, because when you do that with clarity and purity, it is like so much more powerful than all those distractions in its ability to be made manifest. We can assure you of that. It's simply that most of you don't even give yourself 1 minute. You're on these phones, on the computer, reaching out, creating this false reality of connection that's not really there. Right? It's a distraction from being connected to yourself and connected to the God force. So we would ask you that you take 5 minutes every day, and even if you break those 5 minutes up to 2-minute intervals, 1 minute every hour, doesn't matter, right? As long as you focus on your truth and what you want to create as a world in your immediate reality. And we can assure you, the more that you do that, the better your reality will come, regardless of what's happening for the people around you. So the people around you, what they're doing is, because you want to go into 5D, which is the heart space to manifest, they are hijacking your heart. They hijack your heart by showing you these horrible things that are going on. And yes, they are going on. It's actually happening. But don't be overly distracted. You can be distracted by this. You can give it some energy in the sense of you see what's going on and you ask for divine intervention in the situation. So have a solution to it, not just feeling, oh my God, this is going on, I'm so powerless or hopeless, there's nothing I can do. There's always something you can do. You see, because remember, you know all of this. We're just triggering your divine memory, that you are under free will. Therefore, you can ask for divine intervention from your starseed brothers and sisters, from your interdimensional beings. You can ask for this. But if you don't ask for it, it's not going to happen. But you need to be precise. You can't just say, clean up this world. We don't like what's going on, and be very vague about it. Be very clear about it. So for instance, you see on the news something horrible about children being abused, and it hurts your heart. Remember, they're trying to hijack your heart to stop your heart from manifesting and creating. So they have to keep placing devastation in there, guilt in there, shame in there, all of these things, anger in there. They have to keep doing this. So you see something about children being abused or something, and your heart breaks. It hurts you. Or animals. Depends what you're drawn towards. So you see this around the children, your heart hurts, and you say, oh God, please, I don't know what to do. Stop this from happening. Right? That's very not very precise. Remember that as you mature in your abilities, you need to be precise. So you say, I'm calling on divine intervention from, know who you're calling it from, right? To heal these children as quickly as possible and restore them to loving balance and connection to their heart and the God force, to restore their faith in mankind. And I'm asking for divine intervention to those that have facilitated this abuse, every single person that's been involved in this abuse, on every level, to be swiftly dealt with by universal laws and karma and justice, but also by the physical justice of planet Earth. That's very accurate, right? And then you can think, well, what can I do? Can I offer some money? Can I offer some expertise? Or can I just do that? It's entirely up to you. Don't feel guilty if the divine intervention is the only thing that you can offer at that point. Don't feel bad about it. That's a very important factor, is to be able to ask for divine intervention and be precise about it. And we've spoken about this before. We hear many of you say, please clean up my life and give me what you think I most need. That's very vague, and it's not very responsible. The whole idea of coming to planet Earth is to become self-responsible, to learn about your power in different dimensional frequencies. Yeah? So if you're giving your power away to spirit, that you're basically advocating your own spiritual knowingness and intelligence and handing it over to. So it's not about handing your power over to something else. It's about actually being very precise and understanding that something else, whether it's your starseed brothers and sisters, interdimensional God force, angelic beings, doesn't matter who it is, whomever it is, understand that at that point they're your colleagues. So you don't demand from your colleagues. You don't place yourself having more authority than your colleagues. So by divine decree I demand, this is childish. That doesn't make you a colleague. You're not saying you are an equal. The reason you are equals is because you are part of the divine universe. You are part of that construct. You came, anyone that's listening to this, you came with a mission. It's time to wake it up and understand that those that you are communicating to are your colleagues. And we said this many times. When you go into 5D, you no longer have guides, you have colleagues. There's a difference. So begin to utilize your ability to request divine intervention to help sort out this situation. Having said that, what we're going to say is those distractions, the events are going to happen more swiftly with very little time in between. If you remember back years ago when you would go through your own realizations, dark night of the soul, your healing process, healing crises, you would have one, then you would have a long gap where everything was fine, you built up your strength, and you felt like you may have upgraded, but you stabilized yourself. Now what you're finding, it's one thing after the other. There is no gap in between. It's going to be the same for all of these other processes that are going on. So you'll have, let's say, some natural disasters, as we said, and some man-made disasters. You will have natural illnesses, man-made illnesses. So you're having all of these things happen quickly. So there's no time to rest in between. It's like being in labor. When you're in labor, it starts off, 15 minutes apart, 10 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart, then a minute apart. So at first you have time to recover your body, to get back to your senses, and then by the time you're about to give birth, there is no time to recover in between. It's just completely full on. That's what's happening to Earth right now. There will be no time to recover. So now is the time to recognize this. Now is the time to understand that you are far more powerful than you can ever imagine. Now is the time to start getting a routine where every day you focus on what is right for you. You can also focus on what is right for the planet. But in focusing what is right for you, that's creating what is right for the planet. You see, if you are receiving this energy but just sending it out, to your community, you're not really anchoring it. And there may be people within the community that don't know how to anchor it. Best you anchor it first by creating good in your own life so that you're anchoring it, and then good can come to the lives around you. So we've said it many times, don't feel guilty, don't feel embarrassed. If your life is good, you don't have to tell everyone, but just be happy that you're okay. Because we can't say too much on this platform because it continues to be affected. We can only say the details in these groups. So it's better that you come to the groups and you can hear the details, because these are not put on this platform. But what we can put here is a gentle reminder of how powerful you are and how you go about utilizing that power. And we can say to you that these 5 governing principles want to hijack your heart. And they've already started. If you don't do this, you're going to kill that person. That person's going to get sick because of you, or whatever. We have to be very careful what we say. So they are hijacking you all the time. The reality is it's going to become more intense. There's going to be more restrictions. There's going to be lack of certain things. It's definitely going to happen because this is what those 5 principles want. And there are many people that are connected to the grid of fear. They're still in 3D and 4D. They're in the grid of fear. We're asking you that listen to this not to go into that grid. Because what will happen is this. We're not saying don't be prepared. You need to be prepared. But what will happen is everything that you need and require will come to you. You will not lack. Now, the beings that they're going to present to you will be scary. But you all know those beings have been around for a very long time. And if they wanted to invade, they would have done a long time ago. What we would ask you to do, divine intervention, call in the ones that you feel are of the light, that you know are of the light, and give them permission to be present. Give them permission to support the cleaning up of your air. Not do it for you, but to support it. In other words, to help those that are in a position to either be whistleblowers or create inventions that are going to clean it up, to do so. To not get distracted, right? So there are some of you that have wonderful ideas, but because you're being distracted, you're not bringing them into reality. Got to do this first, got to do that first. I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for the... Now's the time. So when you ask for divine intervention, to trigger the right people, because they're not going to do it for you, but they are going to help you by way of guidance. So there may be a number of people working on inventions to clear up all these chemicals in the sky, but they're missing one component. What if they had a dream about what that is? An inspiration about what that is? Because you prayed for divine intervention. You know, there are many things that we would like to talk about, but we cannot talk about at this point because of this censorship. What we are going to say to you is this: those that are not being censored, there's a reason for that. It means that whatever energy, the ones that are being censored have an energy. Remember, we said this. It's about the frequency and the words. Those that are saying things and not being censored, but what they are saying is quite accurate. Maybe they're hearing it from someone else, getting it from someone else, and they're repeating it. So they're not anchoring it, right? They're not energetically at that frequency. But they're still doing a good job. They're not your enemy. Anyone who is in the battle against these 5 principles is not your enemy. So don't waste time talking about them, sending energy to them. You know, don't waste time with that. Stay focused on where you are at. And continue focusing every day on what you believe is right for you, what is rightfully yours. And from that, you will anchor that frequency that is so powerful, no one can disturb it. You see, you've been running off your, let's say, electric aspect of the self, the male paradigm of the self, the patriarchal. You're moving into balance of both male and female, but in order to do that, you must harness the magnetic field of the self. So you have to understand that, the magnetics. So if you look at invention on the planets, all run through electricity, why do you think they're pushing electric cars, electric this, solar that, you know? They're pushing that thing because the magnetic aspect is all out there. They know all of it. They have all the inventions. They just stop it. It's been there for a long time. Like hundreds of years it's been there. So they've stopped it because they can't harness it. Once they do that, they can't harness it because it's called free energy. So they need to stop you from accessing the magnetic part of yourself, which is your ability to receive, right? So what are they doing? Saying the only way you can receive is through us. You have to do this, so you have to give something, which is the electric part of you, in order to receive something. So we're going to supply the food, we're going to supply the energy, depending on whether you're a good citizen or not. And what we are suggesting is, the more you come from the love aspect, the heart aspect, that's the more you activate what? The magnetic part of yourself. The easier it will be for you to receive what is rightfully yours. And we use the word rightfully, yeah? Because your brains have been programmed to say, oh, that's rightfully mine, that big house, that fancy car, this amount of money, that's rightfully mine. No, it's not. That's your ego. And when you're asking for what's rightfully your ego, you're not going to get it if you're coming from the spiritual aspect of yourself. which will then create disappointment, and then you won't believe in spirit anymore and the ability to manifest. Because what's been taught to you is incorrect. And it's been taught to you for a reason, so that you acquiesced your true power and doubt yourself. So they're hijacking the magnetic aspect of yourself, your ability to receive. Why? Because when you are harnessing that aspect of yourself, that becomes the energy within the reality around you. It triggers other people to doing the same. Therefore, the reality of electromagnetic frequencies in perfect harmony, free energy, right? Transportation that runs without toxic waste or anything like that, becomes a reality. Because reality is created by you. You co-create the reality in which you live. So why do you think they're programming you? Predictive programming. They're programming you with all of this nasty stuff to hijack your energy so that you cannot raise it to its electromagnetic balance. So the more that you get that in balance, the better off you're going to be, the better off the planet will be. So there will be... Now, we've spoken about this before. Some of you will start manifesting so fast your heads will spin. You might be afraid. And that may just be happening in some aspects of your life. Make it exciting. Don't be afraid. Make it exciting. Ooh, what else can I create? But remember, you're co-creating. You create nothing on your own. In reality. So, do you have any questions?
Well,
can you think of anything?
Yeah, definitely. When you say about the distractions, we just had yesterday and today in Slovenia a huge distraction, and this is the floods. Can you comment on floods in Slovenia?
Well, they were created, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see on the scans they were created, but also, what did you have before that? You had a lot of the chemicals in the sky.
Yeah.
So what did they create with the storm? The chemicals come down into the earth. Not only do they create destruction for the people, so it creates poverty, but it also destroys your plants, your trees, your animals, the ecoculture of the land, right? So if the fruit trees are wiped out, if the crops are wiped out, where are you going to go to? The government, like we said, for food. It's controlling you. So that's what it was about. But also what we will say is this. Some countries, and it could be the situation with Slovenia, say for instance you have a governing body that, we're not going to use the word, but you'll understand what we're talking about. Say you're part of a group of countries that has a governing body that says to all of the countries within that group, you have to start doing this, this, and this. And the country says, well, actually, no, we don't want to do that because our people are against it. They will create that sort of problem to bring the country to the knees, and then the country has to ask for money from that group.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to get the money, you have to do this.
So do you believe that these catastrophes are targeted to a country?
Yeah. Absolutely, they're targeted to a country. And for different reasons.
Wow. And so not long ago we had these huge fires in Greece.
That's
like
right.
Rhodes Island and other islands.
And if you look at the fires, they're burning underground as well. Why is that? It's proof that these chemicals that they are placing are acting as a conductor. And we want you to think about that because those chemicals reside in all of your bodies. You're breathing them in, right? So you are becoming conductors. It's like becoming a internet router in yourself, right? So you're a conductor of frequencies. That's what we're talking about, these frequency wars. Anyway, more and more people will come up with inventions that will combat that, actually. So we wouldn't focus on that too much. Focus on yourself. Focus on what brings you joy, what helps you to feel love throughout the day. Become present in that, and the rewards will come, because we're telling you it's going to get a lot worse. A lot worse. So be prepared in yourselves, be prepared in your homes, so you can feel comfortable.
Yeah, I would just also like to ask people to check on our website, lovelightandtruth.com. If we are maybe not able to access our YouTube channel, the information will be on the webpage always, or contact us in other ways with the emails that are there.
Yeah, make sure that they give you their email so you can contact them. That's the important thing, because don't be surprised if your website goes down.
Yeah.
They will... this, and we spoke about that in the last channeling, how they operate, right? So they will do everything they can because of the frequency. See, what happens is once you reach a certain frequency in yourself, you start triggering that frequency in others. So if you come across someone who, let's say, we'll do it by way of, say, watts, light bulb watts. So say, for instance, you might be vibrating at 80 watts and someone at 40 watts comes around you. That 80 watts is going to trigger that person to go to 50 first. They're not going to go to 80 because that would short circuit them, right? They would have a conniption. They wouldn't be able to cope. So it'll spark something in them to go to 50. And then from 50, something else will spark them to go to 60. You see, so it will happen like that. It can happen rapidly, but it won't go from 40 to 80. So if you've got someone that's, say, 120 watts, well, they're going to spark more people. And that's what they're trying to stop, because light communicates to light and will awaken the light within. Right? If you begin to see it like that, your light is talking all the time. And those of you that have started opening up your DNA, it means your DNA and your light is going to communicate to other people's and start opening up theirs. That's why they want you to, they did this experiment of having, 6 feet apart and all of this sort of stuff. And don't think they're not going to bring that back in again. They'll at least try. We don't know if they'll succeed because there's so many people against it. But it's what they'd like to do. So if they can't do that, what are they going to do? Weather wars. Food wars. And as we said, you can't stop what's coming in a good way, we mean. What's coming in a good way. They can't stop it. It's going to happen. They can only slow it down. They can create chaos and turbulence before that. But what our desire is that as many people as possible are already creating that grid of light, that foundation of light, and stabilizing that for this new reality to be very present. So when you look at, let's say, a lot of people left their jobs because they didn't want to participate in experiments. Those people that left their jobs that didn't participate are healthy. Okay, they may not be financially happy, but they're healthy, right? Now, new situations are going to happen where those people, whether it's regardless of what area they worked in, over the next year will suddenly those people will get amazing opportunities to rise up and be part of some pretty amazing things. So those 5 governing principles, there's always an opposing one, right? So there's a new one being built for everyone that they represent. There's a new one being built. The foundations are only just starting to formulate. And the reason they're not solid is because there's so much infighting, amongst these people who are truthers or, against this or what have you. They're fighting amongst each other. Why? Because there will be people within those groups that are planted there to create the fight. They've been infiltrated by spies, one could say. So these 5 principles are going to rise up with totally new technology, new energy systems, new, let's say, health system, everything, financial system, everything. So as the old one crumbles, which it is, that's why they're fighting. They're trying to harness your frequencies. Because as planet Earth moves into this 5th density, the 5th dimension, it's all about harnessing the energy. It becomes energetic, right? So they have to harness that energy somehow. And that's what they're endeavoring to do. And what we're suggesting is there is a foundation, it's not laid yet because there's too much fighting. So we're going to say to anyone who actually listens to this, don't fight. Walk away. We know you may be tempted to speak the truth about this person. Let people find that out for themselves, who that person is, what that person is about. Trust that as people grow, they will know what is the truth and what is not. Because that's all part of the DNA upgrades, yeah? Well, not upgrades, but, opening back up again. You think it's got to do with, living forever. Yeah, that's part of it. Psychic abilities. Yeah, that's part of it. But one really strong aspect of it is to know the truth. Nothing is hidden when you are in the light. Nothing. And when you shine your own light that brightly, anyone who's in front of you will be exposed. And that's why they're shutting our daughter down, they're shutting other people down, because they don't want their light exposing those who are maybe innocently, a lot of people are innocently doing this, as we said earlier. They're just reiterating stuff but saying it's from them, but it's not. They've just listened to a whole load of other people and they're giving it out, which is why they have no energy backing it up, which is why they're not being dismantled. because this AI is intelligent enough to pick up the frequency. And that's what they're finding important more than anything else. So we will leave it at that, and we will do another one of these groups, we would say, in September. So we invite people to go to that website that you spoke of, and send an email to register for it. When it's announced, they'll get an email to say this, because it's going to be important to have support.
Connection.
Yeah, it's support, because when you feel like you're on your own and you're going for all this different information, it can get very confusing, but also it's dispersing your energies as well.
And people can always ask also some personal questions in these groups if it's important for them.
They can ask, that's right. Sometimes these questions are very interesting.
Yeah.
We find people ask incredible questions. So this is a very good thing, to have the opportunity to ask. Right, so then we will leave you in our love and our light and our truth and our blessings. And we thank you for allowing us to share in your energy and to be of some support this day.